Now, you all remember the story of Louis Lang, who is the supposed conservative who was having some problems, who started a GoFundMe campaign to get some very expensive eye surgery, and he was quoted as blaming Obama for the failures of Obamacare. Well, some recent news came out about him, and it looks as though since this whole thing happened, since he got this media attention, and since the GoFundMe campaign, Louis Lang had reevaluated his political position. Now, I'm going to go to an article here and read from this. Basically, the 49-year-old South Carolina resident has told Think Progress that he does not want to be the poster child for the Republican Party's opposition to healthcare reform anymore. He's like, I'm done with this. Like, I don't want to be known as the Republican who hates Obamacare. Interesting. So, as I said, he's bleeding from the eyes. He's got a partially detached retina. He needs surgery. He started a GoFundMe campaign, and he's had a lot of positive, even some negative comments from people who still donated, basically chastised him for being, hey, how come you signed up late? Here's $5. I hope you don't go blind, but still, this is not the way healthcare is supposed to be, and he admits that. Now, Lang joked that he must be the most hated Republican in the country right now, but he also said that thanks to the media attention, he was able to learn a bit more about healthcare policy, and so he no longer identifies with the GOP anymore. He told Think Progress, quote, "Now that I'm looking at what each party represents, my wife and I are both saying, hey, we're not Republicans." He added that though he's not a political person by nature and has never voted solidly along party lines, he wants to rip up his voter registration card on national TV so Americans will have proof that he's switching parties. Now, he's also, the Charlotte Observer, who originally picked up the story, had said that basically he was against the ACA. Now, Lang disputes that. He insists that he's never been completely opposed to the law. He does, however, have some issues with the way it's been implemented. Hey, that's an incredibly fair position. I would actually agree on that. I think the rollout of Healthcare.gov was terrible. I think the decision in the Supreme Court to not expand Medicaid was terrible, as the law was supposed to have a Medicaid expansion built in. And let's be honest, the entire law is a big giveaway to large multinational health companies, health insurance companies. And it enriches them, but also helps regular people, or it should if they didn't decide to play politics with it, which is what a lot of Republican states done, including South Carolina. Now, the website as well. That was an issue. Signing up, that's an issue. Having to deal with all the different insurance companies and such, also an issue. So all of that stuff would have been simplified and eliminated had we had a Medicare for all or a single payer option. We did not. That is the fault of Obama and the Democratic Party for not pushing for that single payer system. So that's incredibly fair. And actually, that's part of what Lang was trying to say. Like, I blame both Democrats and Republicans for how this law came out and for me not being able to get insurance. And I think that's an incredibly fair position. And I share that position. Now, he told Think Progress that he thinks the law is too confusing as written, which is true. And he also pointed out that one of his problems with signing up for the law is that it was too difficult to predict his income. Remember, he was a handyman who tried to fix up foreclosed homes for the banks. He worked for the banks. And so he couldn't tell his income. So that's why he couldn't guess, because if he guessed wrong, he'd have to pay in a bunch of money at the end of the year. A big problem for somebody without a steady income. Now, Lang's main complaint is what I outlined earlier, is that they played politics with the Medicaid expansion. Basically, he'd said, I put the blame on everyone, Republican and Democrat, but I do mainly blame Republicans for their pig-headedness. They're blocking policies that could help everyone. I'm in the situation I'm in because they chose not to expand Medicaid for political reasons, and I know I'm not the only one. Yes, unfortunately, that's very, very true. As I said before, we have 31 Republican governors controlling 29 state legislatures. And a lot of the states decided not to expand Medicaid to the students. Students? Really? To their constituents. To the people. So, for example, Florida's Governor Rick Scott, right, promised to expand Medicaid, then rolled back on it. It's like, I don't care. 500,000 Floridians who can't afford insurance, they fall into that donut hole, the Affordable Healthcare Act donut hole. Well, we don't care about you. Sad day for you, because we don't want to accept 100% of federal money to make a political point. Now, interestingly enough, I mentioned some of the comments before that Lang had received on his GoFundMe campaign. Now, he had read all these comments, which anybody who reads comments online, especially on things that goes viral, ooh, ouch, right? Now, he announced that a lot of people criticized him for waiting till he got sick, rightly so. But he insists that he and his wife had been discussing getting coverage now that they're getting older, and said that he had tried to do this last year, the best he could. I know we didn't do it the right way, he told Think Progress, explaining that he's hoping to figure out the situation with his fluctuating income so he can be the first in line to sign up for a plan during the next open enrollment period. Now, he said he's always tried to take responsibility for his own bills, but he believes that the United States should work towards a universal healthcare system that makes coverage available to everyone, regardless of their income level. And he said he 100% agrees with the people who commented on his crowdfunding page to argue that healthcare is a human right. See, I like this guy, and I think he's a lot like a lot of Americans who, for a while, since Democrats did a terrible job selling this law, let's be honest with you, and it had a lot of flaws, and of course, Republicans, conservatives, Fox News seized on that. And they spread misinformation, and they tried to block everything they could because they knew ultimately it would help people like Lang. And now that some of those, I mean, a lot of that strategy worked to misinform people. But once people know what's in it, once people see, just like that one guy, that redneck that wants to vote for Hillary, that went viral on Facebook saying, well, I'm going to vote for her because I don't want my health care to be taken away. Well, that's happening to a lot of people who realize, hey, the GOP has been lying to me about this healthcare law all along. The Democrats have been right, and we've been absolutely wrong. We've been lied to. This is actually something that will help us. There is no death panels. It's not what they're saying it is. Maybe we need to sign up and be a part of it. This is actually a good thing. And a lot of people like Lang are starting to wake up and see, no pun intended here, that this law is actually a much better thing than what we had, but we can still improve upon it, which is what we should absolutely do. Now, one more thing, which I thought was funny from this article. He had some eyesight jokes for us. He said this whole thing has helped him see more clearly. Like they say, hindsight is 20/20.